As our tale begins, we stand in the Electric Hunter Stadium where amazing things are about to happen, while a crowd of eager reporters swarm a respected man, desperate to learn every secret about the mighty warriors. With a determined stride, a focused young man rushes down the hall, his steps firm and his eyes locked on the goal ahead. As the old instructor hands over a prize document to celebrate our hero's hard work, the young man grins broadly and salutes, but the mood shifts instantly when the veteran's face falls with a tense warning that shatters the celebration. The evaluator holds up a paper covered in red scribbles and warns that this license is useless in the real world. Frozen in his tracks, the young man stares in shock as a harsh command forbids him from ever stepping onto the battlefield. The old man reveals that strength alone is needed to win a fight, and the harsh evaluator coldly confirms that our hero would be defeated before he could even scratch a single monster. Fuming with anger, the unlucky hero collapses in despair over his jobless fate until a mysterious magic suddenly bursts into view and promises to change everything. With a messy hand in his hair, he throws himself back in his bedroom chair, freaking out because he just blew his one chance at the job. Giving up on that crazy dream, our hero stumbles onto a suspicious-looking game on the glowing screen. He squints at the message, then takes a deep breath and starts the strange online game to push his worries away. As he studies the scary monsters on the screen, he quickly realizes that playing with focus reveals this tower defense game is far from simple, so he needs to bring in some heavy hitters. But as he powers up his new team, the kid finds himself having to spend a lot of money. When he loses badly, he finds that every time he fails, all his hard work is wiped out. Claiming in disbelief, our hero stares at the screen and watches a tiny pony creature effortlessly crush a giant monster, realizing just how unbalanced these mysterious battles truly are. Leaning back in his chair, he decides that those weird developers must really hate their players. With a confident grin, the young man feels like the king of the world, knowing he makes his living by crushing these absurd challenges. Slumping back into his seat, the guy cries over his old failures, but then he straightens up and is suddenly overwhelmed by a flood of messages in his live stream chat. Clutching the mouse tightly, our hero dives back into the game to chat with his online fans, only for his eyes to go wide with shock as a scary message suddenly pops up on his screen. As the young man keeps a cool face while his chat doubts his monster hunting skills, our hero breaks into a cold sweat and forces a fake smile, terrified that admitting his failure would ruin everything. Cracking his knuckles to focus, our hero quickly changes the subject. Ready to play but putting on a cool jacket, he tells his viewers that today will be the last day he plays this sinister game, so staring at the glowing monitor, he decides to attempt an insane challenge that no one on the server has ever completed. The game's intense art shows the main mission: you must defend the castle from horrific creatures pouring out of a portal. With fingers flying across the keyboard, the young man proudly shows off his upgraded base and the huge money he spent to reach this final stage, then nervously smiles while promising that breaking this new record for Wave 700 would be a legendary moment in his career. With a sharp click on start, the chat erupts in delight as the decisive round kicks off in that pixelated world. But as his hand shakes slightly over the mouse, he takes a deep breath to steady his nerves before the brutal attack, only to be violently pulled into a strange energy erupting from his computer screen in a scream of desperation. As a wild spinning portal bursts open to herald Wave 700, furious monsters leap from the rift into our world, ready to tear everything apart. A terrifying wall of wild beasts charges forward like an avalanche, ready to cause huge destruction. Peering at the screen, our hero sees too many monsters to fight one by one, so he nocks an arrow and aims to wipe out the first group. Rain falls from the sky as glowing arrows zoom past at lightning speed, striking right in the center of the enemy crowd. The strike hits true, slashing through the dog-like monsters and dealing serious damage to the enemies on the front line. With eyes wide with terror, the little archer screams in fear as the enemies are right on top of him. As the brave level 100 minion hits the ground, the cruel beast's sharp claws tear him apart without any mercy. The kid gnashed his teeth in angry frustration over the money the character cost him, while relentless, sinister wolves tore through the defenses, proving that sending a huge group at once was far too dangerous. While the red magic of the level 13 Sobus Queen slashes through the invaders to hold the line at the castle, she suddenly turns in surprise, sensing a terrifying presence closing in behind her. A giant three-headed dog roars so loudly that it breaks our hero's main defense and fills everyone with fear. But in shock, the protagonist wonders how that huge sapperus could break through the blockade so fast and get there. Trying to escape, the succubus leaps back to regroup, but the Hound of Darkness bites down without mercy, crushing the boy's hope. Tearing across the screen, a harsh notification reveals that your most valuable units have been wiped out in the bloody fight. The young man sweats bullets and watches his best warriors turn to dust as he realizes the monsters from Wave 700 are way too strong. Feeling defeated, the frustrated kid slumps into his chair as years of hard work vanish instantly, watching the enemy horde march forward mercilessly and destroy everything in their path, proving that defeat is now certain. With a heavy heart, our hero watches as his last castle stands alone in the chaos, only to be torn apart by furious wolves until he knows it's time to accept his defeat. Outside, the beasts snarl and claw at the palace gates, trying to break in while a blinding white light glows fiercely from the inside. Suddenly, a grand figure glows to light up the whole room, sitting quietly on the king's throne and leaving everyone shocked. A golden panel flashes on the screen, shouting that our amazing hero was the first person to reach this stage. His eyes went wide with confusion at the strange message, but the warrior goddess suddenly shifted in her seat, radiating so much energy that the game wasn't over, while the powerful queen stared coldly at the invaders with an overwhelming presence, ready to fight. As the supreme monarch wakes with bright red eyes and shifts the battle's fate, the old servant holds out his shining sword in deep respect to his master. As the mysterious warrior steps firmly on the ground and walks slowly to her front line with her golden blade, the imposing queen rises to battle, radiating a powerful aura. Jaw on the floor, our hero panics in his chair because this character isn't even supposed to move in the game. While drooling with hatred, the giant wolves charge into the main hall, sure they are about to finish everyone inside. Facing the army of beasts, the majestic monarch stands alone to protect the castle, while our boy, shocked by this bizarre sight that has never happened before, remembers his past defeats. But the white-haired goddess blasts the enemies with a death glare, showing no fear of the danger. She slashes her blade so fast it tears the air as she gets ready to strike with all her fury. She slashes through the cruel beasts and takes down the giant dogs in a blink, wiping out the whole horde and clearing the entrance to leave the young man speechless. The queen leaps out and charges forward, completely ignoring our protagonist's desperation. She dives straight into the heart of a sea of monsters, facing an endless horde of evil creatures. Suddenly, the king crashes down like a shooting star, bringing with him a magical power that is way too destructive. With a massive golden blast, he slashes across the field and wipes out every monster, saving the game. But a massive blast wipes out the battlefield, sending huge pieces of dirt flying everywhere. By catching the enemies off guard, the blinding light melts the beasts before they can react, while the swift queen turns into a blazing beam that slices right through the enemy lines. Turning her attention to the next target, the mysterious woman unleashes a furious glare that radiates deadly magic. As the warrior crashes into the monsters and unleashes a blinding attack, the monarch slices through giant sharks and sea beasts to decimate the invaders, showing off her raw strength. With kill messages rolling up the screen as several beasts fall, the supreme queen glows with golden power for her final strike. Because it slices through the enemy's flesh without stopping, that shining blade leaves no creature unharmed as it moves forward. A towering pillar of light wipes the monsters off the map, leaving our hero stunned. After wiping out the whole army, the mighty warrior goddess lets out a sigh of relief but keeps her cold and steady stance. She planted her feet to stop her forward motion and showed she could control her body perfectly. With a massive flash of light, the queen slashes her sword to sweep away the dust, proving her readiness for the next battle, while the awestruck young man realizes that in this ruined world, she is the ultimate power. With the red dragons completely wiped out, a holy glow sweeps across the map and leaves no trace of any enemy left behind. Our hero stands speechless as the system praises him, all while he watches the goddess with wonder. After snuffing out the last tiny monster, the glowing screen declares that the impossible Wave 700 is finally done. And without blinking, the kid tries to process the crazy massacre he just saw in the game, but he smiles excitedly at the stream and tells the chat how broken and overpowered his character is, until the sudden silence makes him realize his mouse is frozen and wonder if the stream crashed, only for a strange message to pop up thanking him as an old viewer who hadn't spoken in 5 years, leaving him confused until he realizes his gameplay just woke up a sleeping lord, though he still scratches his head thinking the subscriber is just typing nonsense before the mysterious user declares they will start a new journey guided by him, vanished from the room and disappeared from the conversation, leaving the guy alone to wonder if he was the only one who even read that. After letting out a long, weary sigh, our unlucky hero Layman struggles to finish recording, but his eyes suddenly pop open in terror as a blinding blue light bursts from the screen and sucks him right into a giant magical doorway, plunging him into the game forever. The computer screen glows so brightly it sends a swirling blue magic storm across the room, causing our hero to back away in fear as he tries to make sense of the sudden madness. Thrown back in his chair, the kid is paralyzed by the blinding light that reveals a game-like reflection staring back at him from his own eyes. As a bright blue panel floats into view announcing his new powers, the trembling boy wonders if he finally achieved the rare double awakening, turning his thoughts to the harsh words of the evaluator and the doctor's warning that fighting in real dungeons was a death sentence for someone as weak as he had been. As he flashes back to the past, he recalls that the only way to save himself is to unlock new powers and boost his rank. So when he smiles with relief, the rejected warrior knows that all the scorn he's faced his whole life might finally be over. Our hero slams his hands on the desk, stares down the glowing panel, and grabs the mic to shout a shocking surprise to his fans. With a wide, confident grin, the kid declares that his channel is gone for good, and he's back to hunting monsters. As the scene shifts, we see a calm morning light up the quiet neighborhood where our hero lives, and as he takes a deep breath and looks at the view, he knows today will be a wonderful day to try out his new powers. Perched on his bed, the hero glares in frustration at the strange floating panel, only to see his stats are still pitifully low, exactly as before. Sighing in disappointment, the kid realizes the new awakening didn't boost his strength, but then a sudden noise makes his eyes widen as another screen flashes before him. After reading the system message about his new powers, the hero flashes a confident smile and ignores his weak stats, dreaming of high power. Quickly clicking accept, the thrilled man agrees to learn his brand new magic tricks, while the baffled child stares at the strange names and doesn't know how to talk or trade with the king. Confused and scratching his head, our hero decides to test the strange power by pressing a virtual button to see what happens when he tries to use a trade ability with the goddess. He wakes up to a red error message saying he has no gold, and after throwing himself onto his bed in angry frustration, he realizes he finally has powers but can't use a single one. With a thoughtful look to the side, our guy realized he had no one trustworthy to turn to for help. Staring at his dark screen, he remembers that the strange message on his stream means the mysterious viewer knows what's happening, so he nervously hits start and waits for them to appear. Our hero grins excitedly and greets us, then quickly locks the stream the moment we walk in so we can talk privately. Leaning his chin on his hands, the guy tells the mysterious fan he needs to ask some serious questions, and after getting the green light, he stares intently at the screen, remembering that his powers appeared right after reading that bizarre message, which is why. Remembering those strange words of devotion, the young man realizes this subscriber must be behind his sudden awakening, so he nervously sweats and confesses to the viewer that he woke up with powers the day before. Our hero stares hard and asks the fan straight out if they know anything about this miracle. His eyes go wide with shock as he reads the screen, knowing his suspicions were right, but he also understands that magic is too powerful for any normal human to control. Our hero pictures mighty gods and guesses the user must be one of them, wondering why they're helping. The kid scratches his head in confusion, thanks him for being honest, but admits he's totally lost in all this craziness, while the guy crosses his arms and wonders why he was chosen for such a crazy favor. Suddenly, the answer pops up on the bright screen and shows a huge secret about the fan. The message shines inside the hero's mind, revealing that the Supreme Monarch has picked him to be her great lord. With wide eyes full of doubt, the kid wonders if he really woke up the mighty warrior, and as he remembers the queen's grand face, he suddenly links it all to his final move in the game. After reading the clear message in the chat, the young man realizes his victory woke the goddess from her eternal sleep, but he is shocked to find that his own life is now tied to the game. While the mysterious figure in the hood explains that his magic lamp's glowing lesson about patience is just a humble gift, our hero keeps firing bullets and complains that asking for gold when he has none seems completely useless. Silent and confused, the boy stares at the screen, wondering why his great magical friend suddenly can't speak or understand his trouble. But quickly grabbing a glowing book, the being flips through the pages until the bright light reveals the system's secrets to the divine messenger. With his cuff slipping in embarrassment, the mysterious figure admits he messed up by delivering the spells wrong, leaving the young man staring in shock at the divine being's silly mistake. The hooded figure points a glowing finger and says 50 gold coins are dropping into his account right now, then spins his staff to promise the boy can grab the gold and worry about the spells and details later. With a flash of blue light, the entity vanishes into thin air, saying their goodbyes and promising to enjoy working with the hero. After the mysterious viewer finally leaves the chat, the young man pinches his cheek to check if this wild adventure is real, only to jump at a sudden glowing notification that confirms his new powers have been unlocked. The warrior steps into the system shop and stands before a giant screen flashing with glowing choices. Looking at the trade tabs, the young man sees a blue panel listing monsters for sale, and trembling with shock, he realizes this interface is exactly the same as the game he just finished, which explains everything. As he scrolls through the list, he spots goblins, wolves, and orcs that look exactly like the ones he fought before. The young man grins with confidence, dreaming that he could bring his army to life just like in the game. With a happy laugh, the hero realizes he won't be fighting alone anymore, so he checks his 50 gold coins and finds he can only afford to buy a goblin slave. His eyes go wide, and he stammers in shock at the magic shop, where the system screen reveals that buying the powerful monarch will cost a ridiculous amount of gold. With a cold sweat breaking out, the kid sighs in despair over the outrageous cost and strict requirements, but then he starts to think hard about how he could possibly save up that much money. Sitting in his chair with his arms crossed, the protagonist struggles to think of how to earn enough gold, so he forces his memory to recall the exact tricks for farming money from the old game. By picturing the victory screens, the guy realizes the first way to make profit is clearing dungeons, and remembering all that loot, he also knows hunting beasts and selling their items is another great way to earn good money. Leaning his chin on his hand, he realizes that the world must play by the same rules as the game, which is exactly why. Knowing he can't fight even the weakest monsters alone, the boy looks at the hologram of the goblin slave, clicks the button with his last 50 coins, and prays the tiny creature will be his only hope. As the contract notification pops up and the system starts summoning the small minion, a strong gust of wind blows against the hero's face, leaving him shocked to see a huge magic whirlpool opening in the middle of his room. With rapid clicks, the receptionist finds the hunter's file on the blue screen, revealing that our hero holds the system's lowest rank. After the receptionist confirms his details and shows him the 4 open missions on a glowing holographic map, he carefully picks the least obvious spot to work alone. With a steady finger on the chosen target, the young man declares his mission, while the worried woman warns him that there's no help available if anything goes wrong. Grinning with total confidence, our boy tells her he'll be okay, ignoring the danger as he hears other hunters laughing at his suicidal choice. After the friendly receptionist promises to send the mission details, our fearless hero places his thumb on the scanner to confirm his identity and heads out for the hunt. She puts her glasses back on to let our hero leave after finishing everything, and he thanks her before turning away to start his first job. As the rookie strides toward his mission with determination, he feels a mix of nervous butterflies and pure excitement churning in his stomach. He strides out of the building with excitement, eager to try his new magic, and the scene shifts to a distant mountain where a goblin hunt is underway. As the warrior walked the dirt road and finally reached his goal, he turned in shock to hear someone screaming for a hunter. As he runs through the fields, a frantic old man bursts through the brush, waving his arms wildly before grabbing the boy's hands in a desperate hug, and after the old man explains that terrifying monsters have been terrorizing the whole region, the boy respectfully and humbly thanks him for being there. Thinking about the mission, the hunter realizes the small reward keeps better hunters away, but as he looks at the boy with pity, the kind old man wonders if the boy can really do the job all by himself. The village chief whimpers with worry, fearing the savior might get badly hurt on the mountain. By gripping the old man's cold hands, our brave hero projects confidence to calm the situation. With a wide grin, our hero promises that nothing bad will happen to the village or to him. As the Boeing flies low, the old man cries with emotion, thanking the boy endlessly for his kindness, while waving from afar to send good vibes as our hunter moves on. Looking deeper into the woods, the young man enters the thick forest to find where the terrible beast is hiding. Confused by the lack of footprints, the warrior quickly turns his head and hears some strange noises coming from a corner. While the man peeks through the bushes, he spots an ugly little green monster quenching its thirst at the spring and gulping down the water with a really annoying noise. With a puzzled frown, our hero stares in awe as a crowd of goblins relax like old friends in a forest sauna. As the enemy rests and lets their guard down, the hunter sees his chance to strike without them noticing. He grabs his magic panel and strikes while the beast is still distracted. The young man reaches into his inventory to grab a glowing blue orb, gets ready to try out his new minion, plants his feet solidly, and then pushes off hard to suddenly zoom away at crazy speeds. Our hero throws the magic ball with all his might to attack the group and start the big forest showdown. Our hero screams loudly and throws the glowing blue ball to call his slave minion to him. The magic orb zipped through the air straight for the camp, drawing the monster's attention, but when it hit the ground it just rolled harmlessly, completely breaking the boy's hopes. With a cold sweat breaking out, our young hero freezes in disbelief as the spell backfires, but the green beast instantly spot the intruder and raise their weapons, locking eyes with him in angry tension, while he realizes too late that he's alone and running out of time. They're screaming like maniacs, the little monsters charge forward in a furious attack, eager to slice up the intruder without mercy. With daggers drawn, the creatures leap at the guy's neck while he yells to find his courage and throws himself back to dodge, but just as a blinding light stops their attack, a razor-sharp blade slices through the air inches from his face, brutally cutting the beast down before a shadowy minion appears to make everyone sweat in shock. As the story flashes back to the old days, our hero realizes this fearsome beast was his very first summon back then. The kid spent every rare item he had to make his minion a terrifying powerhouse who once fought alone against 100 waves of enemies. With the best gear in hand, the magic panel transforms a tiny ally into a legendary hero, ready for battle. Amassing a huge burst of magical power, the glowing minion rockets forward like a missile, smashing through the air as it charges its deadly strike against the enemies. Because spinning with brute force, the companion brings down his heavy weapon, creating a destructive impact on the ground. A massive pillar of blue light explodes from the ground, smashing all the enemy beasts, while the armored monster lands gently to stand tall as the strongest one left. With pure terror shaking him and cold sweat breaking out, the surviving green enemy stares at the horrific sight before screaming in desperation, turning tail and fleeing straight into the middle of the woods. So he leaps high into the air, chasing his target with endless energy and leaving no room for them to run away. As the magic boots glow so brightly, they wake up a special power that lets you fly, which is why he crashes down like a blue meteor and delivers a crushing blow to his final opponent. A powerful minion dives from the sky and crashes down like a meteor, smashing everything in its way. The little enemy monster shudders in fear as it realizes its final moment has arrived in just a split second. With a brutal blue crash, the opponent gets smashed off the map with no chance to fight back. The Dark Warrior ended the fight with shocking ease, leaving our hero watching from afar and completely stunned by such huge power. The kid sweats bullets, marveling at how his former minion became so powerful in real life. But turning its head slowly, the tiny monster looks at its owner and makes some weird grunting sounds. The creature walks calmly across the field toward the young man, who stammers a thank you, only for the green warrior to tap his chest and leave him completely confused by the strange gesture. Puffing out his chest proudly, the minion strikes a pose begging for praise, but the hunter just grimaces in disgust at the bizarre sparkle in that hideous monster's eyes. A message flashes on the screen showing the creature's friendship is at level 20, but our young man scratches his head in disbelief, thinking it sounds just like a silly dating game. His eyes went wide with shock as he found that filling the bar unlocked a new power, so he gave the monster a stiff, robot-like hug and showered it with fake compliments to instantly grab 10 points. Turning away from the fight, our hero strolls quietly through the woods, thinking about the battle they just survived. As the young hunter stares at the defeated beasts, he grunts in excitement when his little minion approaches to pull out 3 glowing blue stones from their guts, leaving the boy scratching his head in confusion at these strange shiny rocks. The nimble sidekick points behind him and warns that something strange has just popped up right behind the guy. As a blotch energy appears and floats in the air, it opens a magic rift right in front of our hero. The young man stares in shock as he realizes the glowing light looks just like a tiny doorway to another world. Holding the small stones, the green partner tosses them without a second thought, sending one straight toward the strange light. The portal gulps everything down with a bright black hole glow, and the beeping blue screen chirps that he just sold the crystals for 30 gold coins. Putting it all together, the guy realizes that in real life, creatures drop mana stones to act like money, so he pats the little one on the head for its smart move and earns 5 more affinity points. Our hero calmly makes his way through the forest to gather the proof of his mission, but the ground suddenly shakes beneath his feet as a strange, terrifying rumble echoes behind him, scaring the birds away and cracking the trees, which makes him turn around in fear, wondering if other monsters are still hiding in the woods. As darkness between the trees fills with tension and hints of great danger, a wild brute force begins smashing tree trunks and clearing the way by tearing up everything in its path. As the giant crashes through the leaves and looks like an ant to our hero, the warrior knows it's no simple goblin, and with terrified eyes, he feels the monster's crushing shadow and raised weapon coming right for him. Cursing in desperation, the guy realizes the beast is the dreaded giant ogre carrying a huge log. Because he's shaking so hard, he remembers these brutal monsters only show up in high-level missions. With a frown of confusion, the young man spots a terrifying detail on the giant's body, seeing deep cuts in its skin that prove the beast has already taken a beating. After swallowing hard, the guy realizes the injured ogre is still terrifyingly strong, and the magic screen flashes a warning that only 3 minutes remain before the minions arrive. With bullets whizzing around, the kid wants to bolt, while his companion growls and stomps the ground hard, proving that the armored boot in the alley won't back down from the fight. With its heavy weapon in hand, the green hero steps forward with great pride to become our savior. Facing the giant ogre, the brave dark soldier readies himself for a fight that looks like it will only go one way. So the little monster nods, promising it can do the job and putting the hunter's heart at ease. Taking up the challenge, the young man bets everything on his brave but crazy helper, whose blue glow suddenly sparks a flight ability just as the kid prays for a win. The armored helper zooms toward the big guy like a blue rocket, while the angry monster roars and lifts its giant log to hit him with all its might. By dodging nimbly, the small fighter escapes the deadly strike, tearing through the air with his glowing aura. With an incredible leap, the minion spins through the air and lands upside down before the giant enemy, whose widening red eyes show it can barely keep up with such a fast attack. The dark soldier swings his hammer with all his crazy strength, smashing the ogre so hard that it explodes and leaves a huge hole in the forest. High in the air, the nimble minion unleashes all its magic, painting the sky with a huge burst of blue light. With a full leap, the tiny warrior throws his fury straight at the target, while the dark soldier, clenching his teeth in rage, shows no mercy to the beast. Bowblake with a huge beam of light falls from the sky and hits the giant monster with such power that it breaks the creature right in half. With a desperate leap, the huge man throws his arms up to shield himself, but the beast screams in agony as the wild blow strikes its head and tears through its body. As the ogre screams in agony while the energy crushes its muscles, the fearless helper slams the hammer down harder to finish the fight, causing everything to explode and sending a massive shockwave of destruction across the battlefield. With wide eyes, our hero stares in shock at the blast's raw power and grips the ground to hold onto his footing against the fierce wind. The huge ogre tips over heavily, losing consciousness as he crashes down defeated and kicks up a cloud of dust. But landing gracefully on the beast's belly, the tiny fighter proves size isn't everything, while its glowing eye stares intently at its master as if begging for another compliment. With sweat pouring down in relief, our hero offers an awkward smile as he realizes he's found the perfect partner, then runs excitedly toward the minion, while shouting its name to celebrate the big win. The young man patted the little monster's head and praised it for the amazing fight they just won. A beeping sound from the magic panel warns that the summoning will end in just 5 seconds. After giving the shiny treasure from the big monster to his helper and saying goodbye, our hero waves at his green friend with a happy smile, promising to reach out again soon. As the mighty warrior fades into a bluish glow and heads back to the castle to rest, the kid clutches the ogre's magic stone, wondering if he should sell it after his scary encounter, only to watch a blue rift appear from thin air, prompting the smart hunter to realize that holding mana causes these portals to pop up on their own. As you swallow the giant stone, the device beeps happily, giving you 100 gold and telling you that you've earned the reward for beating the ogre. With eyes wide in disbelief, our hero stares at the screen, realizing he's won a rare lottery ticket, a result that feels impossible since the game's rules say such prizes are nearly impossible to get. A blinding storm of magic lightning tears open the sky, spinning the legendary Wheel of Fortune into life. But from a burst of golden light, the mysterious prize lands right into the lucky hero's hands. Via the precious box, the young man recalls that its items were meant only for his monsters, until the blue screen shocks him with news that he can use them too. Seeing the weird gear on the minion fit him perfectly after staring at the hologram, the young man almost opens the box for a huge power boost, but the screams in the woods make him hide the ticket and rush down the trail to face the hunters hunting the escaped monster. The tracker skids to a halt on the dirt and shouts that the giant beast's tracks stop dead right there. But as bullets seemed to sway in the air, the squad leader froze in shock, while the girl beside him stared in silent disbelief at the madness. Yet their protagonist stood calm and fearless, watching it all. From afar, the elite squad watches as a plain man stands beside the utterly destroyed monster. Our hero realizes the strong girl is a top guild member, explaining why he knows this famous hunter so well. The guy sighs in annoyance as he realizes this group is the same team that hurt the beast earlier, so he tries to slip away quietly without causing a scene by turning his back, only to get stopped dead in his tracks by a loud shout. 2 men in suits step right in front of the hero to block his way, and the big leader crosses his arms to say that the dead ogre belongs to them alone. The hunter stares coldly at the young man, wondering if he's the one who really killed that giant monster. Our hero's sweat shows how scared he is that the men in suits will start fighting over the stolen prey. The little group stands around the fallen giant while watching the kid nearby, knowing something terrible has just happened. Watching the body, the woman is amazed and wonders how the kid managed to win all by himself. Calculating the beast's strength, she knows the injured ogre is still incredibly powerful, and remembering how her whole team suffered at its hands, she knows she can't rely on them. She locks eyes with the man, realizing his high rank, so our hero steps back and holds up his hands to avoid any trouble. The girl smiles softly, introduces herself as the guild leader, and offers her hand, so the young man shakes it, tells her his name is Hunter Kim Hanel, but a flash of golden light appears as a strange message, warns that a supreme archangel is watching him closely. Her eyes went wide with shock as the hunter panicked inside, yet Hanel found his aura strangely weak for someone who seemed so powerful. The leader asks straight up about the ogre, the boy stammers and admits it, which makes the hunter frown with suspicion and know the boy is hiding something. The woman explains that they lost track of the monster and are now scared for the village's safety. The hunter sees through the guy's excuses and knows luck won't take down an ogre, so he's sure the guy is hiding something. To the boy's shock, the leader gives up all his claim to the dead monster, but when the woman offers to help clean and sell the giant carcass, our nervous hero can't believe the guild's share is being handed over to him for free. With a stern look, the leader broke the silence and warned that there was a price to pay for all that money. She looks right at the boy and asks for a tiny favor to get that huge monster, which surprises our hero. Hannah shivered, knowing that scary woman wouldn't give anything for free, but the mysterious hunter shocked everyone by quickly sliding his phone forward with a strange move. As her glow shifts, the girl turns beet red, leaving her teammates speechless. So the hunter, embarrassed and shouting, begs our boy to give her his phone number right now, but the young man freezes with wide eyes, confused by this random pickup line in the middle of the forest. The scene shifts to a quiet countryside village where the people cheer loudly, and an old man holding Hanel's hands weeps with joy and thanks him endlessly for saving everyone. Feeling relieved, the guy shouts that the mountain is safe once more, earns praise from the humble old man, and then chats with the village leader before asking an important question. The boy grins excitedly and asks where the famous training monument is, so the little old man calmly points the right way and says the place brings good luck. As our hero strolls down the green path, casually brushing off his fear of superstitions, he clutches the glowing chest tightly, knowing that any help will be a blessing once he finally opens the box. Standing before the massive stone, he hopes the hidden power inside will help him get a big reward. As the hunter feels his phone buzz, he pulls it out and breaks the forest's quiet silence, only to find Hannah staring at the glowing screen in shock as she reads his name on the notification. The kid carefully reads the text and sees the warrior offering help with the giant ogre's body, but she sighs in confusion because it's strange that the leader gave her his personal number instead of the guild's contact info. Shoving the phone into his pocket, our hero shifts his focus to the golden chest, steeling himself to try his luck on a game where the odds are tiny but the reward could be huge. After tapping the blue panel to accept the premium ticket and start opening the prize, the magic box blazes with golden light, explodes and swallows the pass to show the hunter's long-awaited reward. Thinking back to the rules, the kid realizes that the items have different strengths and their colors show just how powerful the rewards are. With a golden shield blocking the blinding light, our hero smiles at what he thinks is a lucky find, only for his eyes to widen in shock as the glow turns red, revealing something far beyond mythic, before the scene shifts to his quiet apartment where, after a wild day in the magical forest, he sits in his chair to figure out how to farm gold, but he's quickly faced with a new massive problem. Staring at the glowing blue screen, the warrior grumbles that no amount of gold can let him pick a new monster. He checks his list and sees he has 130 coins, but only 2 creatures are available to buy. The kid pictured the beasts, figured out the goblin, but wondered why the pricey ogre was available until he remembered the stretched bodies in the woods, which finally cracked the code. The system only lets you summon monsters you've personally beaten. But with eyes squinting against the glare, the protagonist realizes that hunting these beasts without help to unlock the minions will be incredibly tough. Still haunted by the red flash in the woods, the kid's hope springs back to life as he stares at the ridiculous treasure he pulled from the chest. The young hunter holds a pair of glowing unique magic glasses and bets everything on them to break his limits, amazed that he managed to find such a rare treasure. He figured out the reward and realized that having this piece of equipment is worth more than several amazing items all put together. The young man puts on the glowing blue accessory, feeling an instant surge of power as his stats jump and a new ability unlocks. Peering at the status window, our hero grins with pure joy at the massive power boost he finally needs to survive, realizing just how incredible the magic glasses really are. Thinking about the new trick, the clever guy realizes the sage's eye lets him see enemy secrets before a fight, so by picturing the dangerous creatures, our hunter knows hunting will be 1,000 times easier. After taking off his glasses, the thoughtful hero can't shake a troubling doubt, so he stares into the dark room and wonders why he was given such an absurd power for free. Sighing with worry, the young man wonders why he of all people was chosen amidst so many strong and talented individuals. But then red danger screens pop up and the system floods the monitor with terrifying warnings that a horde is about to attack now.
Though suddenly terrified, the kid watches red screens pop into existence out of nowhere, demanding he get ready to fight back.
Our hero looks at the bluish hologram and knows right away that Wave 701 is starting. Sweating profusely, the guy wonders if this madness is really about defending against a monster invasion just like the one in the game, and as he imagines the terrifying horde, he remembers how absurdly strong those beasts get in the later stages. Backing away in his room, the protagonist wonders if he can refuse this mission or what will happen if he fails, only for the cruel rules to warn him that losing would mean losing the monarch, his castle and all his new powers. With his eyes wide in pure terror, the hunter sees a scary warning in his pupil that the whole world will be wiped out unless he stops the monsters from coming. A bright blue timer glows before him, counting down exactly 10 minutes until the slaughter starts. Hanel's face tightens as he struggles to believe he has to stop this crazy threat all by himself. With electric energy crackling around the castle's virtual portal as it prepares to open its gates to hell, the man frowns and thinks it's crazy to be forced to play this deadly defense game, while the kid grumbles that the end of the world is way too extreme a punishment for losing a simple little game. Cruel clock beeps non-stop, ticking down the final minutes until disaster strikes. Our hero takes a deep breath to steady himself, letting go of the rules so he can focus on just surviving the chaos. Extending his arms, the boy interacts with the holographic screen, preparing to stop the horde of monsters. Our hero remembers the plan. The goal is to stop the enemies from blowing up the castle before they do. As the minion slashes with a giant sword to guard the entrance and prove how vital troop placement is, the young man studies the castle's defenses and realizes they must be ready. The skilled player studies the item tabs and uses his experience to craft a perfect defense. By tapping the air, the hunter discovers the controls are now touch-based and checks which minions he can send to the battlefield at the castle. With a bright glow before him, the system confirms he has earned 4 free minions thanks to selling those magic stones earlier. The kid shows off his 5 monster cards and realizes he can use his crew without spending gold, but he turns his head with a worried thought, wondering if he can call that powerful goddess back again. The guy cursed out in frustration as the system message popped up, saying neither the king nor the butler was allowed to fight. With frantic clicks, the player rushes to hire new helpers with the gold they just won. When the panel flashed another error, the kid flew into a rage because the game now banned all spending once the wave warning sounded. Bullets dance around him. His eyes go wide when the system reveals the weird villain who will lead this round's enemy army. Staring in shock at the enemy count, he realizes that more than 60 werewolves and other beasts are ready to tear everything apart. After studying the clues, the hunter realizes their leader is a ridiculously powerful 6-star beast. As dark monsters tear through the red sky, they drag their mounted warriors down to attack the castle. Looking at the two teams, our boy Lament has some weak cards and is wondering how he'll hold off these flying demons. As the red screen flashes with memories of a past defeat, it warns that disaster is coming, and the odds are hopelessly against us. With no gold and no good troops, the young man begins to despair and searches for any miracle strategy, but suddenly a glowing notification on the panel offers a special privilege that brings a ray of hope. He quickly reads the bonus rules and finds he gets a free defensive structure and item, but he still sighs in frustration, knowing this small boost won't be enough to stop this whole mess. But looking at the choices, the smart player starts piecing everything together, recalling every moment from his long time in this game. Grinning with a psycho look, our protagonist guarantees that his veteran title in the game didn't come for free. So, typing the settings at the speed of light, the kid assembles his genius plan to destroy the enemy team in the sky. Because racing against the clock, the time drops to 8 minutes as the focused guy adjusts every little detail on the screen. With blue holograms in hand, the young man controls the castle's defenses like a master, smiling with confidence that his tiny army will easily defeat the huge horde coming to attack. As the tension builds, our hero calmly watches the clock tick away while making the final tweaks. The veteran player stares hard at his troops, taps ready on his blue screen, leans back in his chair to take a deep breath and feels like he's done everything possible before the timer runs out at the castle. The brave kid signals the start of the fight, but thousands of roaring wyverns instantly cover the castle, shielded by a wild and untouchable power. The Hordemaster looms over his troops with a scary cold look while his flying monsters dive down like red bullets to smash the fort. But just as their claws dig into the ground, a giant blue wall of light bursts into existence to stop the destruction. The commander frowns in confusion as his army crashes into a wall they cannot break. A bright blue glow spreads everywhere, and the magic dome easily pushes back the enemies to keep the place safe. Our brilliant hero grinned wildly in triumph as he watched the dome on the map stand firm, proving that its endless strength could stop even the worst attacks. Raising his hand with pride, he explains that the OP shield has a rule limiting it to very low-level troops, and with a knowing chuckle, the player adds that he was just using that famous newbie reward to his advantage. As the sky turns into a fiery nightmare, with creatures screaming and raining blazing fire down on the shield, every single blast just chews away one tiny point of its strength. But when the kid looked at the math, he saw that a constant swarm of 60 monsters would drain the shield in an instant, and with the screen flashing red to show his protection was already cut in half, the weight on his shoulders felt crushing. With a sadistic grin spreading across his face, the player remains completely unbothered, hinting that he has a powerful secret move ready to win this round. Hainel's fingers blur into a frantic, comical blur as she mashes the virtual keyboard with wild speed. As the healing appears on screen, the castle's defense bar fills up 1 point for every tap on the panel, keeping the castle safe. With hands shaking from sheer fatigue and the sting of the holographic glass, the kid refuses to give up as a beam of light shoots up from the base to wipe out the flying enemies. As the creatures feel a small tap right in the middle, they realize someone is attacking them, even though the blow didn't hurt much. Inside the protective bubble, a tiny team of heroes unleashes a relentless barrage of spells against the giant flying monsters, while a scrawny minion holding a trowel glows red to reveal the secret tactic. The tool is the key, yet the system's stats show it deals exactly 1 point of damage to any target, no matter how strong. The green goblin jumps high to laugh at the pony, making the angry dragon realize it will eventually lose face if the teasing keeps going. With a confident grin, the goblin throws another weak attack at the huge beast, which roars while spinning wildly as our hero realizes the fight ahead will be a brutal test of patience. With frantic taps on the blue glass, the young man matches their wild pace, wondering who will collapse first as the shield bar numbers flash, while the sky's heavy attacks are perfectly balanced by quick regeneration, even as the enemy warriors scream in rage at their tiny wounds and fly low to destroy the base, while being pelted by the goblin's annoying hits. From a safe distance, the long-haired master's face hardens as he watches the beast hammer the unbreakable shield with wild, spark-filled fury. After wiping the sweat from his brow and taking a deep breath to admit his arms are giving out from the endless clicking, he reaches for a water bottle to quench his parched throat. Suddenly, a weird shock freezes the kid's arm in mid-air, stopping him from grabbing the water and filling his eyes with terror. While in his room, the young man locks up in fear as the screen beeps and flashes a red warning that blocks his every move. But then Hainel clenches his trembling fist to free his hands again as water spills from his arm, and though he swallows hard in anger, he realizes he can't even drink without letting this whole mess happen first. Our hero frantically slaps the blue panel, realizing he's trapped there for a long time, and quickly figures out that anyone would go crazy trying to tap a screen for 60 straight hours. With the terrifying dragons looming above, the skilled player cracks a confident smile because the game has finally begun. The giant red beast roared in pure hate and spat a crazy stream of fire right at the magic dome, blowing up everything around it in a blinding flash that pushed the protective barrier to its breaking point, with warnings flashing as the shield melts against the brutal assault. Hanel grins like a maniac, admitting that this insane adrenaline rush is why he loves the game so much, while another colossal explosion fries the defenses and shakes the castle, demanding perfect reflexes from the protagonist. Slamming his fist on the screen, the kid realizes 2 hours have gone by with over 50 more to play, and with bloodshot eyes, he vows that even the world ending won't stop him. With a dark and threatening presence, our fearless hero dares to fight the whole system just to see who will survive. As the scene shifts, we see a group of men in suits tied up and arguing about a black dragon society, while they struggle against their thick ropes and come up with a desperate plan to free their hands and run away. Trying to untie their feet, the team realizes they must catch the scumbags behind this, but a strange man holding a sharp axe steps up to threaten them, warning of the terrible punishments their mob boss will deal out. Remembering the boss's anger, the sweating hostage admits that everyone there will be wiped out without any mercy. Shaking with fear, a man in a suit wonders how they could possibly catch this dangerous guy, especially since the prisoners remember they all attacked together and still lost. With wide eyes of fear, the whole team is suddenly startled when a kid in a green jacket pops up out of nowhere. While cursing loudly and begging the kid to cut her ropes right away, the tied-up woman screams in pure terror as a strange liquid starts pouring directly onto her head. The thick stench of spilled fuel confirms that the hostages on the filthy floor are facing their worst nightmare, as the psycho kid, who just knocked Kim over, vows to kill everyone who saw his face. While the woman screams and fights back as the psycho sprays her with gasoline, the young man laughs maniacally and lights a lighter, ready to burn them all alive right there. 10 minutes back we see a lone building sitting all alone in the dark night. While a masked giant grumbles about his new partners on the roof, a strange red can and some suspicious gear sit quietly on the ground, ready for action. Drowning the experienced partner questions the crazy plan of that smiling kid. However, a smirk on his face, the psycho in green guarantees that the fuel will solve all their problems. The masked partner watches the kid and asks why they aren't checking with the main base, but the psycho just shakes his head, refusing to ask for help and insisting on doing everything his own twisted way. As the maniac pours out his mysterious liquid, claiming that desperation makes minds sharper, the satisfied smoker holds a lit lighter and grins, daring to find even one good reason not to turn everyone into barbecue. But with a desperate cry from the tied-up woman, she questions why they are forced to leave in such a cruel and cowardly manner. Closing the lighter, the young man sighs in complaint about how hard it was to escape the guild, but then a strange smile spreads across his face as he coldly declares that he can't leave any witnesses alive, causing the prisoner to shout in indignation that he never even tried to hide, while the psycho just keeps repeating the same silly excuse without any sense. The hostages, with an empty look, the maniac just states that they all saw his face, proving his insanity. Sweating bullets, the woman finally understands she's picked a fight with a true, completely clueless maniac. She sighs in terror, realizing that talking to this madman is like shouting at a brick wall, so when she demands an answer, the sadist just flares up the fire again to prove he's not joking. With tears of pure desperation, the leader begs for her life, promising that everyone will forget what happened there, while the shaking hostages guarantee that the gang boss will make sure no one ever speaks about it again. Smiling crow, the psycho says he doesn't believe that nonsense, preparing to toss the lighter. With a desperate scream, the woman begs for one more moment, and after the boy in green snaps the lighter shut in the dark, he promises they'll find a solution to get them one last chance. With the finger pointed at the hostage, the saddest guy threatens to grill everyone if she doesn't come up with a good idea, while the young man grumbles that his boss only wanted him to find the suspects, not take the whole crew. The kid takes a deep breath and wonders if the legendary Black Dragon Guild will let such a shameful moment go unpunished. Seeing the fallen bodies on the floor, he recalls that the gang is a deadly mafia, so the suited men hear that surviving means they will be hunted and humiliated in the underworld forever. Switching to a dark mood, the kid admits that their desperation can't save them, while the woman grits her teeth in terror, staring at the psycho's hideous face as she tries to come up with a plan. Amid the heavy silence in the dark warehouse, the prisoners choke on their fear as the sadist reignites her flame and grins, daring anyone to stop the killing, until the gang leader screams out a bold new plan. The kid shakes his head and says that just asking for trust won't stop them from being roasted alive. Driven by a desperate need to survive, the woman vows to spill every secret she knows about the guild and begs him to write them all down. As the lighter clicks shut, the young psycho leans in with wide eyes, begging her to keep talking about this wild plan. Panting as she speaks, the woman admits that leaking secrets about the terrible guild or spreading their dirty laundry leads to certain doom, so while tied up and trembling, the suited men agree with their leader that a video capturing all of them would be the perfect guarantee, and with a forced smile, she promises that with such proof in circulation, no one would dare speak about what happened there. And at the prisoner, the young man in green thinks hard about the blackmail plan, wondering if it's worth risking everything on this. With a deep frown, he asks if she truly wants to risk her life on such a dangerous and hopeless plan. With his hand propped on his chin, the sadist realizes that the danger they're already in makes all the difference. As the kid thinks about his secret plan to keep the giant briefcase of cash in China to wash it, he looks at the hostages in the dark and realizes the woman is just stalling because she can't speak freely right now. While the psycho thinks getting info on the Black Dragon Society would help by thinking of his old partner, the kid in the green jacket turns his head and asks if he can even continue investigating the late old Choi. Jokingly asks the masked partner if the big guy won't tell him to quit the intelligence agency. While the masked man watches, the kid turns his head and agrees to record this wild interrogation. The young sadist grins with excitement, believing the idea is perfect, so he turns on his phone's camera to begin recording the hostages, while the crazy man tells the woman to start spilling all her secrets right there. With a pro camera in hand, the masked veteran grumbles that he's never seen such a weird agent, and warns that showing your face is a fatal mistake in this job. And at the kid in green through the viewfinder, the old spy knows that mistakes like this get you killed in the underworld, but he also sees that the kid just took down 17 thugs without breaking a sweat. With the crazy plan still fresh in his mind, the cameraman sees how the young man found a genius way to quiet the prisoners, while the spy confirms that their new intel on the drug cartel proves it all made sense. Watching the strange car, the old hand sees the kid captured confessions in a crazy spot, but while he sighs behind the camera, he can't decide if this rookie is total trash or a genius, so he adjusts the lens to film the tied-up gang leader on the floor, because the psycho grins like a madman and tells the woman to say her name and job for the camera. Feeling the weird situation, the cameraman listens to the crime boss stammer as she spills the dirt, while the kid gets right in her face to mock the gang for losing so badly, leaving the hostage humiliated in a 1-on-17 match. But when the camera lowers, the veteran's eyes go wide in shock at his rookie partner's wild behavior, and after slapping his forehead, the spy realizes the agency really did hire a crazy person for the job. The scene shifts to reveal a giant glowing red crystal, proving the boy holds the ultimate power. The other hunters stared in shock at the crystal's crazy power reading, while our hero grinned and admitted he wasn't expecting such an amazing result since the blue panel had just awarded him a brand new spell for his last victory. As he reads the ability's description, the kid's eyes go wide with shock at the superpower he just unlocked. The rules let him steal every power the boss had in the final round. As the Monster Lord's power boosts the hero to the highest rank, the clever young man calmly walks through the automatic doors, knowing he must keep up appearances because that amazing spell only lasts for 30 minutes each day. The hunter acts like a clumsy rookie with a new power, yet he lets his scary aura slip out. As he walked past, the workers whispered in awe at his powerful presence, while the stuck-up girl who bragged to him only got a polite thanks from the protagonist, who ignored her jealous feelings. Before the judge, our hero boldly asks if that silly test really means he hunted the giant augur. Because sweating nervously, the employee swallows hard, confirming that the power measurement ended any doubt about it. Smiling gently, Hanel thanks the team for their help, feigning great humility after scaring everyone there. As the focused young man waves goodbye and vanishes, leaving the shocked agency staff behind, a serious familiar voice suddenly stops him in his tracks, calling out his name from the end of the long hallway. Slowly turning his head, the kid spots a man in a fancy suit offering coffee for a chat, only to reveal that his boss-like manner hides the truth. He is the vice leader of the famous Pumbay Guild. In hushed tones of shock, the hunters around us are stunned by the big shot's bold offer, only to watch the hero politely refuse the coffee and shatter every expectation in the room. With wide eyes, the haughty girl is startled when the hero declares he'll only talk business with her. As he turns his back and strides down the vast hallway, everyone watches in stunned silence at his refusal. With a blink of shock, the vice leader stares in disbelief at the rejection he just received, trying to figure out where that arrogant lunatic could have come from. Our hero scrolls through his phone and discovers a shocking new S-rank hunter has arrived in the city. Sitting relaxed in his room, the young man can't believe he turned into an internet star overnight after clicking a notification that updated his hunting license. But with a sigh, the kid accepts his B-rank limit and turns on the camera to start his stream, ready to greet the fans already waiting for him. The hero beamed with excitement as he spoke to the chat, which was buzzing with wild stories about how he turned down the Pumbay Guild. While reading the gossip, the young man notices people arguing over whether the S-rank kid truly turned down an offer from the country's top guild. Grinning at the hologram, the player laughs at how people still don't realize the news is about him. Shifting gears, the kid says he's got a brand new part showing the life of a real hunter. By building suspense, the young man teases his viewers to create huge anticipation for the next part of his stream. He holds out his hand to the camera and asks the chat to pick the first dangerous dungeon he should clear. But with a frown, a paying member warns that live hunting is illegal, and the system adds that recording inside dungeons is a serious crime. Bond throws his arms up with excitement, promising to show his completion certificate to prove it, which only fuels the hype and gets the subscribers screaming in the chat for him to jump into the evil dragon's nest right away. Money flooded the screen as people chanted for him to brave the giant's feast and put on a show. When a massive $10 million donation suddenly flashes on his screen, the protagonist is left blinking in shock as the chat explodes with outrage over the absurd amount and the strange request to hurt the Spider Queen. Screaming in shock, the subscribers freak out over the huge sum, convinced the mysterious user must be a disguised millionaire. Pressured by the situation, the kid politely asks where this rich guy wants to send him, right as a mysterious hooded stranger pops up in the chat to drop a terrifying recommendation. Pointing a finger, the stranger tells him to go to the Garden of Contemplation, a terrifying real place that has never been finished by anyone in history, causing the subscriber to shake in his boots. With his chin in his hand, the focused kid recalls that this strange place is split into 3 different areas. Knowing the center is deadly while the entrance is safe, the young man sits in his room and remembers that reaching the middle is the hardest challenge hunters face today. The hero remembers the news and realizes that only the Vice Pumbake's leader survived in the chaos. With a confused frown, the kid feels discouraged, thinking it's insane that this wealthy man wants to throw him straight into the darkest and most dangerous part. The mysterious figure in the hood smiles and relaxes the rules, telling the man he doesn't need to beat the dungeon because if he just reaches the deep level, the stranger promises he'll still get his prize. As the crowd screams in terror, they beg the hero to walk away from the money, warning that stepping any further means certain death. After sighing and agreeing with the crowd despite the tempting money, our hero looks up with determination, believing that with the Lord's magic the mission might actually succeed. Closing his eyes to think, he weighs the dangers of the Garden of Contemplation, then grabs his one big chance. With a wild shout confirming his acceptance of the deadly mission, Hanel leaps into action, leaving the stream stunned as the scene shifts to reveal a massive glass tower piercing the bright city sky on a fresh workday. The focused kid sits at the association's desk, double-checks the dangerous dungeon's name, and demands to get in right now. Her eyes go wide as she checks the data, puzzled and asking if he truly means to dive into such dangerous depths, but then she slowly turns her head to warn that the place is death for a hunter who goes alone, so he looks at her with firm determination to prove he can handle himself and tells her not to worry, which is why she quickly types up an opening for next week, much to his frustration over having to wait. The young man awkwardly smiles and asks for an earlier time since his schedule is completely free, so the receptionist checks the system, finds a miracle opening for the next afternoon and arranges it. Boeing nodded in thanks, and the kid said his goodbyes to the woman, feeling the heavy worry of the mission finally lift from his shoulders. The confident hunter strides calmly through the courtyard, steeling himself for the wild hunt ahead. Turning his head in surprise, our hero is suddenly stopped by a guy in a suit asking for his name on the sidewalk, only to find 2 very fancy men in suits appear out of nowhere and ask the kid to stop for a minute to talk. Grinning a bit sheepishly, the 2 reveal they are official recruiters for the mighty Aegis and Sonera guilds, and our hero quickly realizes it's all thanks to his recent S-rank test. And the men in suits flash their elite crests and brag about representing 2 of the 3 biggest guilds in all of Korea. Offering him the world, the recruiters promise to match any salary offer Pumbake made because Tunnel walks right past them, coldly ending the chat with a quick excuse and a thank you for their in. He took a long breath and realized that joining any guild would only risk messing up his hidden system secrets. After leaving the surprised agents behind, the focused kid starts thinking about his true goal for this exciting day. The young man holds the phone to his ear and grumbles that the Garden of Contemplation is all that matters, while in a fancy office, Vice Leader Yoon Soo-hook answers and confirms he remembers the place. But his eyes widen in anger as the old man yells at the kid for wanting to dive into the dangerous depths, while the veteran boss sneers about nearly dying just clearing the central area, only for our hero to grin confidently on the phone and say he found the big shot specifically to get inside information, which makes Yoon frown seriously and ask why anyone would hand over their secrets so easily to such an insolent hunter. Once Damon, protagonist, promises he can clear the depths and give Pungbake the credit if he wins, but the vice leader suddenly jumps from his chair, shocked by the young man's crazy confidence in tackling that place all by himself. The main sits back and realizes the rookie must hold some super powerful secret card to risk his life, so the veteran lets out a heavy sigh, swallows his pride and agrees to share every tip he has collected from that cursed dungeon. While on the call, the vice leader mutters that his guild is the only one that truly cares about the kid. Remembering the suited men, our hero says that the rival guilds already came after him earlier today because, frowning in shock, the experienced old-timer can't believe the competitors were so fast. Inside, the suited man boils with anger as he goes crazy, picturing those vultures trying to snatch his star rookie. With a cruel smile, Han twists the gossip to trick the boss into a great deal, leaving the leader sighing in defeat as he sinks into his chair, realizing he has no choice but to go along with it. The veteran speaks with grave seriousness, pointing out that his knowledge ends right in the middle of the dungeon, but the hero's confident grin shows he believes this is all the info needed to win. The fearless hunter stands before the towering magical spire that pierces the sky, finally reaching the dreaded garden where all thought goes to end. Heading confidently into the challenge zone, the young man spots a whole team of hunters waiting at the door, and with his magic glasses on, he realizes he was the very last to arrive. The hunters whisper and glare at him, thinking it's crazy for that kid to head into the dungeon alone, but the bald team leader politely shakes his hand and introduces himself as a member of a famous guild. As our boy shakes the veteran's hand and shares his name, the old-timer grins to show that news of this S-rank rookie has already made him a legend across the whole city. As the bald man stared with jealous grumbles at how easy life is for top hunters, the leader squeezed the young hero's hand to tell him he'd have to face the dungeon all alone. The veteran parades his whole team to show everyone that his guild has big tasks ahead. The old man grips the boy's hand tightly and warns him not to ask for help, but our hero just smiles calmly and agrees to the terms, finding the leader's arrogant claim that magic won't matter in a real fight quite funny. While the bald leader turns away in irritation, and Han watches the group realize that this welcome was far more hostile than he expected. The kid realizes his anger comes from having to wait a whole month while the hero got in instantly, so while adjusting his glasses, our hero decides to test the mythic power from the golden box, using the special glass vision to see that the whole team is just made of low-rank hunters. Relieved that none of them are strong enough to uncover his secrets, the protagonist grins and sneers at the distant leader, mocking his weak power and forgetting all his fear. Noticing the stare, the bald old-timer asks what the kid is laughing at, so our hero makes up a quick excuse, but the veteran's goons freak out, thinking the rookie was making fun of the boss's bald head and wants to beat him up. Just as the fight gets wild, an employee flips on a glowing green crystal and yells for everyone to hush so the real mission can begin. The employee shouts to the crowd, declaring that the dreaded magic portal is finally opening. And as the group rushes forward, the dungeon entrance suddenly glows with a crazy green light. Adhim steps into the light and feels his stomach flip-flop from the thrill of his first real dungeon. The brave kid takes a deep breath and disappears into the energy, ready for whatever strange things lie ahead. The young hunter presses forward to find the monsters hiding here, but a blue flash cuts through the air to show that only 20 people can enter, leaving him to face a mysterious godlike figure on the throne who welcomes him with overwhelming power. With a snap of his fingers, the supreme figure wishes the boy good luck, sparking a wild transformation where the glowing entire tower of the monarch's castle undergoes a bizarre structural shift to the game. As the bald man and his team stepped off the portal onto the dungeon floor, they mistakenly believed they had arrived at the normal entrance. But with a frown of confusion, the old man realizes the air here feels nothing like he expected, and the bald leader's eyes go wide in shock as he wonders where they've ended up this time. As we look out over the vast landscape, a huge lake glows brightly, showing the reflection of a giant tree standing in the middle of the forest. Bullets are flying wildly, and the veteran is panicking because he realizes this terrifying place isn't the main entrance to the dungeon, while Aeon stammers in fear asking about the lake as the boss gulps down his fear, knowing something is terribly wrong. While the other hunters whisper in confusion about how different the entrance looks, our hero stares at the dark scene and knows something is terribly wrong. Remembering the vice leader's advice that the start should be easy with cute little pigs in a field, the young man looks around and realizes this place doesn't match the description, so he suspects they aren't at the entrance yet. A beeping screen welcomed them to the dungeon's lake, leaving the bald guy's team in total shock. As the cruel message reveals the little monsters were slaughtered and forced to give up, the screen orders them to protect their targets from scavengers, causing the bald leader's eyes to widen in terror at the news that failure means everyone dies, while our boy frowns in disbelief that such a deadly mission was just dropped on them. In panic, the weak hunters beg their boss to open the status panel and quit this madness, but the sweating old-timer stammers that he can't activate the exit, while the trembling bald leader yells that the frozen system window is trapping the whole team as a new screen flashes to announce that 130 piglets remain, and the scavengers have already started their attack. As the red numbers drop, showing how fast the massacre is happening, the group stares into the dark forest filled with hunting enemies and sinks into total despair. As red numbers flash across the screen showing more dead on the enemy side, the sweating bald leader grits his teeth in horror at the madness unfolding before his team. The old man yells at our hero, while rushing up to him and asking if he knows any secrets about the deadly lake, but the hero calmly turns to face the veteran and admits he doesn't understand the change in scenery either. With a smug grin, the young man confidently promises he knows how this place works, sparking hope in the leader, who sighs in relief and begs for his strategy while promising full guild support, only for Hainel to mock them by reminding them that they once said it was every man for himself, and that he has a condition for talking. Our hero locks eyes with the trembling hunters, shouting for total obedience and commanding them to follow his orders as they rush to clear the dungeon. With a commanding presence, the kid demands they bow their heads and obey quietly, but Aeon grits his teeth in outrage, grumbling that the boy is trying to steal their guild's authority. With another death scream and a harsh beep, the system ends the fight by saying that 4 more tiny monsters have turned into barbecue. Terrified and cursing, the bald man finally gives in to the pressure and accepts the crazy demand while ignoring his teammates' angry finger-pointing attempt to blame the kid, only for the protagonist to coldly shut him down by stating that the choice to follow orders was theirs alone, which forces the defeated boss to swallow his pride and immediately beg for instructions on how to survive. Our hero starts by talking about how wet the ground gets. A young man uses a stick to draw a clear picture of the land on the firm dirt. Holding up the drawn map, our hero shows how the main lake is connected to everything around it. As he explains how tiny rivers weave a web into the still water, the bald leader finds the wisdom strange and asks why, so the kid invents an exploration spell to answer. But before the old-timer can celebrate his jaw-dropping relief that the team won't wander blindly through the dark woods, Hannah remembers the intel came from the guild's vice leader, and while our boy visualizes the blue screen, he confirms the perfect aerial view thanks to the magic castle's digital map. Straining against the dirt, the clever hunter quietly thanked his special system for its help. Because revealing the tactic, the young man points to 8 wetland zones where the cute little monster should be hiding. Raised against the clock, our hero stands tall and urgently tells everyone to rush and save the little ones before the scavenger gets there, ending his quick plan with a shout to move now. But as another red warning flashes, the game tells you 3 more people have gone stiff, adding extra pressure on everyone. With sweat dripping down his face, the bald man screams at his goons to start the search, and as they bolt to their spots, the hunters rush into the dark forest to begin their tense rescue. The veteran looks at the lone guy, turns his head in confusion as a bald man yells from afar about the rookie's plans, while our hero promises he'll handle things his own way. Cursing under his breath, the old-timer calls the kid arrogant, turns away, and slips into the dark woods, while our hero sighs with relief to be free of nosy onlookers, finally able to act on the castle's blue messages that confirm a dangerous secret mission lies hidden at the lake. Cracking his neck, the focused hunter gets ready to hunt down the main targets right there. Because walking silently, he focuses on understanding 2